Hey there, deep divers. You ready to jump into a new career deep dive today?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Awesome. So we're tackling child daycare workers
Right.
today, which I gotta say is right up my alley.
Yeah, always a fun one.
For sure. And you guys sent in a ton of great stuff for this one, right?
Yeah, we've got career guides, interview tips, even some cool AI insights from RoleCatcher.
It's like you read my mind. Okay, so let's break this down. By the end of this deep dive, we want to know if becoming a child daycare worker is the right move for you or maybe someone you know. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
All right, so first things first. RoleCatcher defines a child daycare worker as someone who supports developmental needs in a nurturing environment. Sounds pretty straightforward, right?
It does, but like anything else, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's like saying a chef makes food. Technically true, but doesn't really capture the whole picture.
Exactly. That's why I love that you guys sent over this career guide. It doesn't just scratch the surface. It really digs deep into what it takes to be successful in this field.
So, spill the beans. What kind of insights are we talking about?
Well, for starters, it goes beyond just the basic tasks and emphasizes the importance of creating a safe and emotionally supportive environment for kids.
So, it's not just about keeping kids entertained, it's about creating a space where they can truly thrive.
You got it. The guide even connects this role to improving social and psychological functioning for children. That's huge.
Yeah, no kidding. We're talking about shaping young minds here. Okay, so we've established that this is some serious work, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What does a typical day look like for a child daycare worker? I mean, do you just jump straight from changing diapers to like deep philosophical discussions with toddlers about the meaning of life?
Okay, maybe not deep philosophical discussions, at least not in the traditional sense.
Right, although toddlers do ask some pretty profound questions sometimes.
True, very true. But seriously, the typical responsibilities section of the guide does a fantastic job of breaking down how the job changes over time.
Ooh, I love a good career progression story. So walk me through it. What's the journey like?
All right, so picture this. You're just starting out, fresh-faced and eager to make a difference. You're the supportive sidekick, assisting with everything from diaper changes and feeding to creating a safe and stimulating environment.
So basically, you're a master of all trades, keeping those tiny humans happy and healthy.
Precisely. And let's not forget the power of play. Even at this early stage, there's room for creativity and fun.
Don't leave me hanging. Give me the deets on the fun stuff.
Okay, imagine this. You've graduated to junior child daycare worker. You're leading story time, planning age-appropriate activities, maybe even organizing a mini Olympic Games in the backyard.
Now you're speaking my language. I can already picture the juice box medals and the victory dances.
And for those who are truly passionate about this field, the guide outlines a pathway to becoming a senior child daycare worker.
Ooh, now we're talking leadership roles.
Exactly. Think curriculum development, parent-teacher conferences, mentoring newer staff. You become a real leader in early childhood education.
Okay, now that's impressive. It sounds like there's real potential for growth in this career path.
Absolutely.
You start with the fundamentals, gain experience, and then eventually take on more responsibility and really make a difference. But let's be real for a second, because this guide doesn't sugarcoat it. This job can be tough, am I right?
That's where we separate the dreamers from the doers, right? The career guide talks a lot about the importance of honesty and realistic expectations, and you know I'm all about that.
Absolutely. So no sugarcoating here. Lay it on me. What are some of the challenges that the guide highlights?
Well, for one, this job can be both physically and emotionally demanding.
Okay, that makes sense, especially if you're chasing after a bunch of toddlers all day.
Exactly. And let's be honest, the pay isn't always great, especially when you're first starting out.
That's a really important point. You have to be passionate about work because it's not always about the paycheck.
You hit the nail on the head. The guide shares this really powerful anecdote about a childcare worker who helped a little girl who was terrified of the dark finally overcome her fear.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Makes you realize the kind of impact you can have in this line of work.
absolutely.
Hmm,
And that kind of fulfillment is priceless.
for sure. But it's important to acknowledge both sides of the coin, right?
Absolutely.
So what about those downsides? You mentioned the physical demands and the, shall we say, less than stellar pay.
Yeah, those are definitely factors to consider. It's not always easy, especially when you're dealing with long hours, challenging behavior, and trying to make ends meet on a tight budget. It
Mm-mm.
takes a special kind of dedication.
It makes you wonder if there are other paths within childcare that might offer a different experience.
That's a great point.
We touched on nanny and au pair earlier.
Uh-huh.
Do those roles come with their own sets of pros and cons?
Totally. And it really depends on what you're looking for in a career. Being a nanny, for instance, usually means working directly for one family. You're like an extension of their household, providing personalized care for their kids.
So more of a one-on-one dynamic versus working with a larger group.
Exactly. And you might even get to travel with a family, experience new places. The hours can be more flexible, too.
Sounds like there could be some pretty cool perks with that kind of setup.
Definitely. Then you've got au pair positions, which are a whole different ballgame.
Okay, break it down for me. What's the au pair life all about?
It's a cultural exchange program at its core. You live with a host family, typically in another country, and help care for their children in exchange for room and board, plus a small stipend.
So it's like an opportunity to immerse yourself in a new culture while also gaining experience in childcare.
Exactly. It can be an amazing way to travel, learn a new language, and broaden your horizons.
Okay, so let's say someone listening is like, sign me up. I'm ready to dive into the world of childcare. What does the career guide recommend for someone just starting out?
The guide emphasizes the importance of hands-on experience. Even if it's just babysitting for friends and family, volunteering at a local after-school program, those experiences go a long way.
So it's all about getting your feet wet, showing potential employers that you're comfortable working with kids.
Exactly. And the guide even mentions that the average child daycare worker has a few years of experience under their belt before landing a full-time gig.
That's reassuring to know you don't have to have it all figured out right away.
Exactly.
Okay, so hands-on experience is key. What about certifications? Are those essential for someone pursuing this career path?
Think of them as bonus points on your resume.
Yeah.
While not always required, certifications like CPR, first aid, and especially the Child Development Associate CDA credential can give you a competitive edge.
Hold up. CDA credential. Now that's a mouthful. What exactly does that entail?
It's a nationally recognized credential specifically for early childhood educators. It shows potential employers that you're serious about professional development and committed to best practices in the field.
So it's like a stamp of approval from the childcare gurus saying this person knows their stuff.
Exactly. It involves coursework, an exam, and documented experience working with young children.
Gotcha. So it's a combination of education and hands-on experience. Love that. And speaking of showcasing your skills, the career guide had a really interesting suggestion. Create a portfolio.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Now, when I think portfolio, I usually think artists and designers. How does that translate to the world of childcare?
It's the same concept. But instead of showcasing artwork, you're showcasing your experience and passion for working with kids.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me the rundown. What kind of stuff goes in a childcare portfolio?
Think lesson plans you've developed, photos of engaging activities you've led with kids, maybe even testimonials from parents highlighting your skills and dedication.
So it's like a visual representation of your passion and experience, something tangible that you can share with potential employers.
Exactly. It's one thing to say you're great with kids, it's another to show them.
That's such a good point. And speaking of showcasing your skills, let's talk interviews. This is where I think those RoleCatcher tools we mentioned earlier really come in handy.
Oh, absolutely. Those interview guides are pure gold.
They're amazing. Tons of potential questions, from the typical tell me about yourself icebreakers to scenario-based questions that really test your problem-solving skills.
And the AI feedback feature is like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
Seriously, it's like having a secret weapon to help you prep for those nerve-wracking interviews.
Right. It takes some of the pressure off.
Totally. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here.
Mm.
The job itself, the skills you need, certifications, even building a portfolio.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But let's bring it home with the interview process, because even with all the prep in the world, those interviews can still be a bit daunting, right?
Absolutely. Especially when you're faced with those curveball questions.
Exactly. Like, how do you even prepare for the unexpected?
Well, that's where RoleCatcher really shines.
Tell me more.
Those scenario-based questions they have. They're designed to see how you think on your feet, how you handle challenging situations.
Makes sense. You never know what kind of situation might arise when you're working with kids.
Exactly. But here's the cool part. RoleCatcher's AI feedback gives you personalized tips on how to handle those situations.
So it's like having a mock interview with an expert, but you can do it from your couch.
Pretty much.
I love it. Okay, so to give our listeners a taste of what to expect, I pulled a question from RoleCatcher's interview guide, and it's a good one.
Oh boy, hit me with it.
All right, picture this. You're leading circle time, and one of the kids just completely melts down. We're
Yeah.
talking full-blown tantrums, screaming, throwing toys, the works. How do you handle it?
Ooh, the classic meltdown scenario. That's a tough one. Well, not tough, but, it definitely tests your ability to stay calm under pressure.
For sure. So what's the winning strategy here? What does the career guide recommend?
The key is to remember that even in the midst of a tantrum, kids are trying to communicate something.
They're trying to tell us something, even if they don't have the words for it yet.
Exactly. So the first step is to stay calm yourself. If you get frazzled, it just escalates the situation.
Right. It's like that oxygen mask rule on an airplane. Put yours on first, then help the child.
Exactly. And then get down on their level, make eye contact, and acknowledge their feelings.
So instead of shutting down the tantrum, you're validating their emotions.
You got it. Say something like, I see you're feeling angry right now. It's okay to feel angry, but we don't throw toys. Let's find a different way to express how you're feeling.
Okay, so it's about setting clear boundaries, but with empathy and understanding.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And that's what makes this profession so incredibly rewarding. You're not just caring for kids, you're helping them develop essential life skills.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. You're shaping young minds and making a real difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the impact you have can last a lifetime.
Absolutely. Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, finding the right fit within the world of childcare.
Right, because it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of field.
Not at all.
Well,
So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired, what are some things they can do to figure out what type of childcare setting might be right for them?
do some research. Explore different philosophies like Montessori or Reggio Emilia. Think about the age group you're most drawn to. Do you have a knack for working with infants? Or do you thrive in the energetic chaos of a preschool classroom?
Those are great points. It's all about finding that sweet spot where your passions align with your skills.
And don't forget about those amazing resources we talked about, RoleCatcher, those career guides. They can provide invaluable insights and support along the way.
Absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface today, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a good starting point, right?
Definitely. We've covered everything from the day-to-day responsibilities to interview tips, career progression, even some of the challenges you might face.
We've explored the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
And at the end of the day, if you're passionate about working with kids and making a difference in their lives, this could be an incredibly fulfilling career path.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to all our deep divers out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be shaping young minds and inspiring the next generation before you know it.
Absolutely. It's a journey worth taking.
Couldn't agree more. All right, that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep those career goals high, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you then.